Let's see the rationale that can support those concepts and ideas. For a definition of autonomy, we might quote Holleck, 1981, cited in Benson and Voller, 1997, who describes it as the ability to take charge of one's learning. Dickinson, 1987, sees autonomy as a mode of learning, one in which the individual is responsible for all the decisions connected with her learning and undertakes the implementation of these actions. And finally, Freire, 1997, understands autonomy as the learner's capacity and freedom to construct and reconstruct the taught knowledge. Benson, 1997, suggests that there are in fact three major versions of learner autonomy for language learning: technical, psychological, and political. I am not an autonomous learner yet. I consider that there are many steps I don't take into account in my learning practice, and I strongly need to improve on these aspects. Personally, I consider that autonomy involves capacities, abilities, attitudes, willingness, decision-making, choices, planning, actions, and assessments. And those aspects involve a lot, and I know I have to improve on all. Some of the characteristics that autonomous learners need to have are to show responsibility for their own learning, to show initiative, to be able to monitor and evaluate their own learning, to be reflective and show high levels of metacognition, to be self-aware in the relation to their learning, to be intrinsically motivated, and to be lifelong learners. Being an autonomous learner implies the development of certain capacities and abilities. I consider I'm on my way to learn how to be an autonomous learner. I strongly believe that a person becomes autonomous when she or he has a strong desire to learn, and this is what we can call self-efficacy. According to Bandura, 1994, self-efficacy is defined as people's beliefs about their capabilities to produce designated levels of performance that exercise influence over events that affect their lives. They include cognitive, motivational, affective, and selection processes. In my personal case, I set goals. I have a plan, but I'm easily frustrated when things don't get a good result. Self-regulated learning is the acquisition of knowledge and skills, and is based on a student's responsibility and control for their own acquisition, and is conceived as the process whereby students activate and sustain cognitions and substacognitions and behaviors systematically oriented toward the attainment of their learning goals. Zimmerman, 1986. And it involves three processes: metacognitive, motivational, and behavioral. In my personal point of view, I think that the schools need to foster self-regulated learners and self-directed learners, which implies to have students with a more critical thinking, researchers, and of course, people that overcome successfully life situations. How can self-efficacy be improved? Well, the most important way to improve self-efficacy is first identify your areas of deficit and determine what you need to improve. Evaluate your skills and search the best way to improve. One way to learn the necessary skills is to observe others. You can observe successful completion of tasks to learn how to achieve success. When you observe others being rewarded for their performance and successful completion of a task, you are more likely to be able to model yourself after their behavior. To improve self-efficacy, is the best to focus on specifics. If someone gives you general feedback, especially if it is negative, you are less able to make changes than if someone can provide a specific feedback. And the more behavior is reinforced, the more likely it will continue. If you want to improve your self-efficacy, focus on what you do well and reinforce it by giving yourself a specific prize. Self-directed learning describes a process by which individuals take the initiative without the assistance of others, in diagnosing their learning needs, formulating learning goals, identify human and material resources for learning, choosing and implement appropriate learning strategies, and evaluating learning outcomes. Knowledge, 1975. Self-directed learning is a collaborative process. The student must have the initiative to learn the material, and the teacher must provide support and resources for learning. Students should never feel as if they are learning in their own, and teachers should make students aware of their role in their own learning and encourage each student to take the initiative in their
Created using Powtoon.